This book, our Constitution, protects our society and empowers us to govern. The protea leaves are us, the people, who freely elect our voices in Parliament. The drum calls the people of Parliament, through whom we govern together. And the sun is our country, healing our past, improving our lives, and energizing our potential. Together, our Constitution, our people, our Parliament, and our country are building our great South African nation. Parliament TV, Channel 408 on DSTV.
Welcome to Parliament TV on DSTV channel 408 and streaming on all social media platforms at Parliament of RSA. We are live from Parliament Studios here in Cape Town. I am Tepo Mori. Parliament plays a direct and active role in national affairs. It is the place where members of Parliament look after your interests. Members of Parliament, both in the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, have various responsibilities, including making laws that will improve our lives, discussing and debating government policy and other political issues, consulting with you, the people, and representing your views in Parliament, helping people in their constituencies, approving the budgets of government departments as presented to Parliament by the Minister of Finance, checking that public money is being spent wisely, and making sure that the work that government promised is being done. The National Council of Provinces is the upper house of Parliament of South Africa, representing the interests of the provinces in the national government. The NCOP's purpose is to ensure that provincial interests are considered in the national government. It does this by participating in the national legislative process and providing a forum for discussing issues that affect the provinces. Much of the NCOP's lawmaking and oversight work, which involves public participation and involvement, is carried out through the Select Committee on Public Petitions and Executive Undertakings. The chairperson of that committee is Mr. Ofentse Mokae. Let's get to know him a little better. Stay tuned.
Hello everybody, my name is Ofentse Mokae, all the way from Khalishewe in Kimberley in the Northern Cape. I'm here to represent the province in the 7th Parliament in the National Council of Provinces, NCOP. I'm a young leader, I'm an activist from the dusty streets of Khalishewe. My interest here is just to fight for the people of the Northern Cape, to be that voice for the people of the Northern Cape. As you know, the NCOP is one of the houses of Parliament where provincial interests are being expressed, where provincial interests are being brought to the national stage. Thank you very much.
That was Mr. Ofentse Mokae, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Public Petitions and Executive Undertakings. He is with us in studio to unpack the work of the committee, the importance thereof, and the recent oversight trip to Kujong. Thank you so much for making the time, Chair.
Thank you also for having me here.
Yes. Now, let's get straight into it. Explain to the viewers what the role of the committee is and the importance thereof.
Thank you very much, Tsepo. The role of the committee is just to as Parliament to intervene in community issues. Obviously, communities will try a lot of avenues from the municipalities, which is at local government. They will also try to have their province or their provincial governments to intervene. But as a last resort, they will approach Parliament to intervene in issues that they feel the 3 spheres or the 2 spheres couldn't intervene, and Parliament will be their last resort or their last hope. And the Parliament will exercise this through the Petitions Committee. In the NCOP, we are the only one in Parliament now that has this specific committee known as the Select Committee, as you just rightfully said, the Select Committee on Public Petitions and Executive Undertakings. So this is the role of this committee. It's very important, in my view, because Parliament should be a recourse that the citizens have. There should be an intervening body, you know, as well as we know that we are public reps, we are there on their behalf. But how do we practicalize that? And I think the committee is coming in that way to say, look here is a body in Parliament, a structured forum, a legal standing, with your leaders in it, and you can always ask them to intervene on issues that you feel you haven't been addressed from the different spheres of government. And Parliament will exercise that responsibility through this committee.
And of course, with that, Chair, just explain to us some of the standing issues then that come from the 6th administration that your committee is currently grappling with at the moment.
When we came in, we were elected in June, but the committee was established around July 2024. As you know, we just started now with the 7th administration. And once I was elected, my responsibility was to go to look at the legacy reports. So those will be some of the reports that comes from the previous committees, from the previous parliament. And even though the previous committee had dealt with all the petitions that came through them, there were some items that I felt they needed to be revisited. And rightfully so, I received communication early last week from one of the petitioners who had petitioned Parliament in the previous Parliament about the classification of laws, where they felt the committee has not successfully dealt with that petition to their satisfaction, and they want to revive that petition. Obviously, we don't have the power as a committee to do that on our own. The petitioner must approach us. So I then communicated through my office to the petitioner that they need to resubmit the petition then, so that the current committee can then go into that petition and try to address some of the issues that they feel the previous parliament did not successfully intervene on their behalf. And then you did also ask about some of the issues that I feel must still be driven.
Yes.
In the legacy report, there are 3 things that I think are key for me. One is that Parliament does not have a e-petition system, like an online platform. So the petition is still done the old way, where somebody must write an email and then send it through and so forth, and they can't really track where the petition. So an e-petition system will empower citizens to submit a petition, and depending on the system that we'll be using, track how far the petition is, and I think that is very important. Number 2, that I still feel is important, is to establish a petitions office. So currently there is no petitions office per se. A petition will be submitted, as I said, manually through an email and so forth, and then there are officials that will assist in it. But there's no a dedicated office that will say, here is an office that deals with petition, besides now the committee.
Yeah.
So that's the second item. And the other issue that I felt strongly that must be given attention is the National Petitions Bill that must come. There must be a form of an act of Parliament that will give. Okay, there are guidelines that guide how petitions must be done. But I think in terms of legislation, there should be a petitions bill for the country that will, like any other institution that functions within the law. And there must be a kind of an act that will guide the work of the committee.
Of course, you've just mentioned 3, I think, great ideas in terms of getting an e-petition system, in terms of having a designated petitions office, and of course having a national bill for petitions specifically. Are these some of the key priorities for the committee now in the 7th administration?
Yes, thank you very much. Those are the key priorities. I mean, when I got elected, I did not mince my words. And I was glad that the committee unanimously agreed to say, Chair, this is where we need to move. In our last meeting that we had in September, we were made aware there is now a plans to establish the e-petitions. I mean, that's now the priority for us. So we are meeting tomorrow. We'll be able to get the update in terms of how far it is and when it will kick in. So those will be our key priorities for the committee. And we as a committee, we agree those will be some of the legacies that when we are no longer here, when the 7th Parliament ceases to be there, those things must be in place. So as we're going in our next 5 years, we'll make sure those 3 items are given attention and they're in place.
And of course, now since the establishment of the committee for the 7th administration, 100 days have gone by. What are some of the achievements that the committee has gotten by so far?
Thank you very much. One of the key achievements, I could not be overjoyed. When we received the petition of the Kutsong, the one that we're going to be dealing with later, I said to the committee, we must move for speed. Normally, I got a sense that petitions will pile up And then the committees will then prioritize and look. I said to the committee, we need to, when the petitions comes to our table, we immediately attack it. You know, we don't gonna wait for long. So I think that's one of our achievements, that the petition came, and within a space of 2 months, we were able to go out, even to go and hear the petition, not just by responding, but physically going to see for ourselves what were the issues with the petition. And I think for me, it's a step in the right direction, and it's one of our successes that we have achieved as this committee.
Now, of course, Parliament strives to represent the people and ensure government by the people under the Constitution, as well as represent the provinces in the national sphere of government. This mandate of Parliament is achieved through passing legislation, overseeing government action, and the facilitating of public involvement, cooperative government, and international participation. Now, this is how you can petition Parliament. Stay tuned.
Building our great South African nation together.
Public participation in lawmaking, oversight, and other processes of Parliament is an important constitutional provision of our democracy. One way the public can exercise their right to participate in Parliament is through submitting a petition. Procedures for dealing with petitions are set out in the rules of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Section 56D and 69D of the Constitution provides for the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces to receive petitions, representations, or submissions from any interested persons or institutions. A petition is a formal request to Parliament for intervention in a matter. It can take the form of either a request for assistance with a specific issue or for the redress of a grievance. There are generally two types of petitions, namely special petitions and public or general petitions. A special petition is when an individual makes a specific request or asks for personal relief from the state, which is not authorized by law. A public petition is when a group of citizens with similar interests request general relief or redress of a grievance. Our Constitution states that everyone has the right peacefully and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions. With this right, there are procedures that one has to follow when petitioning Parliament. The National Assembly requires that a petition be formally presented by a Member of Parliament for consideration. Therefore, the petition must be supported by a Member of Parliament. You are entitled to approach any Member of Parliament. The National Council of Provinces does not require that a petition be supported by a Member of Parliament. However, a petition submitted to the NCOP should be in the form prescribed by the chairperson of the council. When writing a petition, you should make sure that it complies with the following requirements. As a petitioner, you should include your name as well as your contact details. The petition should clearly indicate the intended recipient of the petition. It should clearly indicate the subject of the petition. The petition may be in any of South Africa's official languages. There should be a clear motivation for the petition and indicate the nature of the relief asked from Parliament. When making a petition, one should make sure that a petition does not contain improper or disrespectful language. Lastly, a petition must be signed by the petitioner themselves. If there are supporting documents on the issue, it is advised that they are attached to the petition. Your petition will be lodged with the Secretary to Parliament to review it and confirm that it is correct in format and content, and then submit it to the Speaker of the National Assembly or the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. If the petition complies with all the requirements, it will be tabled in Parliament. If it is a special petition, it will be referred to the Committee on Private Members' Legislative Proposals and Special Petitions in the NA, or the Select Committee on Petitions and Members' Legislative Proposals in the NCOP. If it is a petition of a general nature, it will be referred to the relevant portfolio or select committee. An approved format for your petition may be obtained from Parliament's Clerk of the Papers. Once you have drafted your petition, it must thereafter be handed in at the office of the Clerk of the Papers. This is just another way to take part in Parliament and make your voice heard.
You are still tuned into Parliament TV, and if you've just joined us, welcome. Feel free to join the conversation on all social media platforms at Parliament of RSA. Recently, the Select Committee on Public Petitions and Executive Undertakings embarked on an oversight visit to Kuchong after the community of Kuchong submitted a petition requesting the National Council of Provinces to facilitate the declaration of Kuchong in Gauteng a national disaster area due to the escalating large sinkholes. Still in studio with us is Mr. Ofentse Mokae, the chairperson of the committee, to discuss the committee's findings and recommendations. Chair, of course, with this, you mentioned it earlier that this is one of the biggest achievements for your committee so far, having received the petition and having gone on this oversight. Please let us know and explain to us what the petition sought and what the status thereof is right now.
Thank you very much. To go to the point, the petitioner and the team, they wanted the NCOP to declare the area a disaster area because of the sinkholes. And you'll remember that once a disaster has been declared, it unlocks a lot of funding to address the issues, and it will require that a lot of state institutions and departments to come on board and address the situation. And before we could recommend that, because remember, the committee is a committee of the NCOP, so we will recommend now to the NCOP now as Parliament, yes. And Parliament must then take that initiative. So once we received the petition, we went through it, we studied the petition, what are the people asking us to do? And then the gist of it, at the bottom of it, they were requesting Parliament to declare the area disaster area. So that was the gist of it. So first and foremost, before we could do that, we said, okay, we received the petition, we communicated, then we had to now arrange to go to the site to go see for ourselves. Before, I mean, it's going to be irresponsible for us to say, Parliament, do this.
Of course.
You know, when we have not seen that. And we went on the 24th of October, it was on a Thursday, 2024, we went to do the site inspection. They call it the local inspection, I think it goes to the location. And then we met with the petitioners, and then they took us to a various sites. And indeed, it's a reality. There are sinkholes in Kuchong. You know, because of the area, it's in a mining town. So there are dolomites within the ground there. So from time to time, there's just a hole, there just sinks. And at one school, a newly built school, the part of the building got distracted because of this sinkhole, and the kids had to be moved to a temporary school, to another school. Some of the houses also had these holes, and they got damaged. So it is a serious issue. It is a serious issue in Kuchong. And we had now to come to that point to say, look here, let's go and see, and let's go and find out what that situation. And indeed, we deliberated as a committee, and there's a number of recommendations that we've put in place that must take place.
Now, of course, Shay, like you mentioned, I think sinkholes are very traumatic. I've been to one of these sites, and the one it was in Katlehong about 2 years ago. They're very traumatic. I mean, a house could literally just be there one moment, and the next moment it's not. And of course, it's the lives of people are also at risk. Now, with that, how is the committee ensuring that displaced community members are prioritized?
We are doing this by calling, firstly we have to call the municipality and say, look here, what have you done about the situation? So when we had at the hearing, we actually had the mayor and her mayoral team, the MAICO. And we also had, we wanted the Premier actually to be there in the MEC. Unfortunately, they couldn't come, but they sent some of the senior officials from the department. The chief director was there with his assistant. And we wanted to find out what are the interventions. But also now that opened another can of worms about what had happened. What had transpired, the city had assisted. They got funding from the provincial government and to make sure that they intervene in the whole scenario. And what are some of the interventions? They did an informal resettlement. So they identified a piece of land and they took some of the people who have been devastated by this situation to another area and rebuilt BNG houses or RDP houses there. But also with that, it came another issue. People felt that there was no psycho support for them, there was no legal recourse. They felt that the municipality didn't even care about the needs, especially the emotional needs. Because I mean, when you have your house, there's a connection that you've built with that house, and you can't just be taken, and ripped out from that space. And also what the committee found out from the committee members, there were discrepancies and allegations of corruption, where the provincial government had allocated about 5 million, to assist with the recycling. But when you look at the work that has been done, it doesn't speak to that money. So as I'm saying, it opened another can of worms to say, look here, but something is not right here, and it even adds further to the frustration of the residents in that area. Other committee members and civil society, there was an NGO that came also there to report to say, look here, there's a lot of discrepancies within the municipality itself, because some of the officials, they've been pocketing money and using the plight of the residents and using this traumatic experience to their own personal gains. And I mean, that's sad. I mean, people are suffering, and some people, they see it as an opportunity to go and cash in, on the plight of citizens. And then we realize as the committee, say, look, this is not going to be a once-off thing where we just say, declare. A serious, in-depth investigation must be done here on the administrative side of the work that has already been done, and we want to get accountability of how the monies were spent. But also, there needs to be consultation and proper consultation with the residents to say people have been affected in terms of because the communities were saying they don't even get joy from the municipality. They don't listen to them, and I mean those are the allegations. And so we had to come there also from a human heart, to come and take the responsibility, because we are part of government, even though it's parliament and national, in the whole ecosystem. Parliament and municipalities, we are government, and citizens, they look up to us as their leaders to provide them with answers. And I think that's where the committee came in. And as I said to you, this is not one of the petitions that will just be done where they're done oversight, report to Parliament. It must be an ongoing thing. And I even I said to the committee, my door is always open to make sure that we resolve, and from time to time we'll track the development. If we must go again to the municipality or to the area, we'll do it until the people of Kutsong get justice for what has happened to them, and they get the necessary assistance to them. So it's not one of those, I've realized, because I'm now new in the space, but I've realized this petition is not a once-off petition. That the petition is done, Parliament is done, next, let's go to the next one. I see it as something that the committee must continuously go and monitor. At some point, depending on what will come out now from the intervention that we've requested, that a total resolution or a problem, a lasting solution is brought to the people of Kutsong.
And with that, Chair, of course, now there's allegations of corruption. You have people that are distressed and displaced. And like you said, that everybody has a certain attachment to the house that they've built or the house that they've bought. Now, was the committee able to then establish if there are any legal recourses available to these families whose houses have been structurally damaged?
At this point, there is a need, but we couldn't. I can't quantify it in terms of that. For us is to reach an amicable solution, because in the whole ecosystem of government, we need the municipality, and the municipality must take their responsibility in that. And at the same time, we need to provide solutions for the residents and the people of that area. And we can't do it without the municipality. We can't do it without the intervention of province. At that. But what we have as parliament and what we have as a committee is the ability to enforce accountability and to make sure that answers are delivered. And obviously now is to make sure that we have community involvement, and we take the community with us in this journey. So those will be some of the items and the legal intervention that we will put for the people of Kutsong.
And with that, on your oversight trip, did the city of the Merafong City Local Municipality advise the committee with some of the steps that they had taken when these sinkholes started happening?
Yes, they did indicate to us where they started. One of them is, as I said, is the resettlement, where they identified the site and they went to build houses. But it's also far from where the communities are. And one of the loopholes, as I said, there was no proper consultation with communities. At some point, even though we take decisions on behalf of communities, it's important that we hold hands with them, and we take them along. It's not us and them. We are one in this journey. And I think that's where the gap that the municipality could not take the communities on board. And there was not even openness in terms of expenditure. And communities deserve to know, to say how much we got, and how much was allocated and how much was utilized. And they will also judge for themselves to say, if you got 10 million, but what we've done does not speak to the mandate to God. And it will close a lot of gaps if the municipalities and the provincial government takes the people on board with them in the journey. Because at the end of the day, we can say, but we had a meeting and we gave you this feedback. You agreed to this intervention. You didn't raise concern. Whereas now you do things on your own and then you just provide what you think is best for the communities. And then at the later, it bites you. And you will also recall that in our report, this problem of Kutsong has been there for over 7 years. So it's not a new thing. Even the previous mayor and they knew about this problem. Even the provincial government was also told that at one of the meetings, the premier of Gauteng also made commitments, to solve, and those commitments have never come to fruition. And it was said that on the day he was not able to come there because we as a committee were supposed to call him to say, but Honorable Premier, you and your government had made that commitment, and how far has it come to that thing? But as per our recommendations, those reports, we have demanded them in writing once we adopt now the report, because remember, there's a process in Parliament. We go and then we deliberate and we make recommendations, we table it here, but then we must follow it up to make sure that the people that are affected, the parties that are being affected, they provide that update and they report to us in terms of their intervention. And we are very clear and specific what we want. We want further investigation in terms of what's happening in Kutsong. And we want a detailed report about the expenditure, about all the money, because provincial governments will say, but we gave the city this much, we gave the municipality this much, but we want to get a detailed report. So it is between now the provincial government and the municipality to say, okay, we gave you 5 million, how did you utilize that 5 million? We also told, it's a period I want to now mention that because it was not informal writing. There was lots of money that came from the provincial government. One of the officials there, into billions of money to go and assist. So what we've requested is that the provincial government must back now up their inputs in writing. So if you say you've given this money, you must write to us. And when was that money paid to the municipality? And then you'll have now to liaise with the municipality to get to the bottom of the expenditure. And then we as a committee will be able now to look at those facts and communicate with the residents of Kutsong. And I think it is very important. It shows that communities can't be helpless about their problems. There is recourse and there is justice. And those that are responsible, we must expose them and they must be held and be brought to book, to show to South Africans that actually this democracy works. And we have these committees, we have these forums that are able to address our problems at any given time.
Now, Chair, with that, you said that the problem, it's been 7 years, of course. And I get the feeling that things only happen after a sinkhole has happened. Aren't there any preventative measures or a proactive role that the municipality is playing that they've reported to the committee about?
The officials, not really the municipality, but it was from the provincial government. There was an engineer who said they actually have done an entire study about the area, of these mining towns around in Gauteng. And this thing is vast and is big, and I think also indicate about El Katlehong that
some of the grounds are not suitable for building. But some people have been there for over 40, 30 years, when the previous governments were, they just built, not taking in consideration the study and the quality of the ground. So as this thing will require a long-term intervention, to make sure that people are taken out there, and where they are going to be placed. There must be a study that shows this land is okay for them to build on it, because it doesn't matter that you move them to another area and then 10 years down the line the same problem comes there. So there must be a long-term situation, and I'm sad to know that maybe at some point the town have to be redesigned, because for me, if you are saying the ground around this area is not fertile for human habitation, then you have to redesign the town, because this problem not go away. 50 years down the line, you're going to have the same problem.
Of course.
So therefore, because that's what I'm saying to you, it's not a petition that, and I'm glad it's one of the petitions, and I think it was a baptism of fire for us to say that it's something that you have to follow every time. And I mean, as a chair of the committee, this thing is in my head all the time. To say justice for the people of Kutsong, the justice for the people of Carltonville must come for them, and it must be realized. And we as politicians, we as leaders in this committee, we must make the thing a reality.
Yes.
And I'm glad as committee we are in agreement, all of us, across party lines, that solutions must be provided for the people of Kutsong. And we must go to the bottom of this. Because I'm telling you, we are going to deal with a lot of petitions coming to our table. And the same energy that we are giving to this and making sure we resolve the problems, it must be our modus operandi moving forward.
And with that then, what are some of the reasons that the Gauteng national government provided to the committee for not having declared Kutsong a national disaster still after 7 years?
For me, it speaks about not having a coherent plan. For me, they saw it as a ad hoc intervention. And actually, that's why the problem is. There's some saying there's no long-term planning. Because initially, when this thing came to their table, they should have done that long-term plan. And make sure there is a technical report, that goes to the bottom of this whole thing, where you test the ground, you do your environmental impact assessments, and that should have been done. And I think it was an oversight from their side that they didn't do that in place. They intervened, as I said, ad hoc. They will give you 5 million here, then no, there was another 10 million. Okay, we move people to RDP houses. But it did not solve the problem. We are still sitting with the problem after this time. And I think that's where the problem lies. Gauteng government and the municipality should have done a thorough investigation, a deeper analysis, and then put measures in place before the problem becomes so big. I mean, when you go now to Kutsong, there are holes there.
Yeah.
That are wide open. Even within where residents are living, there's another house where just next to the house there's a sinkhole there, a huge sinkhole. They put a tape there, but I mean, we know how people are, and the holes are there. Some of them even dumped in the sinkhole, and some of the kids, And do you want somebody to die? And thank God that in the whole situation of Kutsong, there's never been a fatality. There were injuries here and there, but there were no fatalities. But let us prevent that.
Yes.
We must not allow it now to happen.
And Chair, what are some of the committee's commitments then to facilitate the process to ensure that this area is declared a national disaster area?
Our commitment there is to, first, we must also now come with a new approach. We must have a thorough assessment of what's happening there. So we have made recommendations to the municipality in terms of a thorough first, the allegations, because remember the municipality already received money, but now there are those allegations. We need a thorough report of the fund that they've received and how much was utilized. Number two, want to look at their interventions that they have made in place. They must go reassess what they've done and provide, because even at our meeting we received a presentation, but it was not a thorough presentation. And we said to the municipality, we need a thorough report about your interventions in the area, with also the allegations that are there, as well to the provincial government. And I mean, there's an important thing that I want to stress. We also gave them time frames. That is not a long term. We said to them within 3 months. So 3 months we counted it in October. Yes. By close of this year, we need to have those reports to the committee and then to assist us to finalize this petition. And
then, of course, now the committee has a report. What's the way forward after that report has been established and after that report has been presented to the NCOP?
So tomorrow we are meeting as a committee. I was glad when the interview came because it's quite relevant. Tomorrow our committee is sitting. We will be having our meeting tomorrow with the entire committee members, and we will be adopting now this report. It's our report as a committee. We need to adopt it, go through the recommendations they've put in place, make sure that they are in place, they are right, and they are rightly worded. And then once the report is adopted at committee level, we then go present it or table it in the council. And then the council must now also give their green light, so that those things those interventions must kickstart. But when we were at the petitions hearing, we already communicated to say to the stakeholders, which being your provincial government and your local government, to say this intervention must be put in place. Here is just to make sure that we're within the process of parliament, so that we don't operate outside of the scope and the legislative mandate of parliament. So tomorrow this thing must be done and be adopted, and then it must then go to council. Also it must be adopted in council, and then we now follow track, because the committee must then follow up in terms of those things that we've requested in the report.
And of course you mentioned that some of the key recommendations that the committee has come up with is a thorough report in terms of the finances that have been given to the municipality, a thorough report in terms of what has been done and what is to be done. What are then some of the long-term solutions to prevent future sinkholes?
As I said, also with the request that we got from the request that we made to the engineers. We obviously now we are not a service delivery orientated body. We will then have to put it to the provincial government to come with the lasting solution.
Yes.
It's either, as I said, one of them might be to redesign, depending what comes from the report, but also to hold the government accountable, in terms of their commitments to the communities out there. So that's where the committee comes in, because remember, we play that oversight role over government, the local government and the provincial government. But for me, I said to them, this must be a continuous thing. We must not, as much as we want to make sure we close the chapter, but we must follow it up. It must be a living thing. I think this should be also maybe one of the highlights that the committee will have maybe in the 7th Parliament to say, these are some of the powers as a committee and as Parliament we has utilized to make sure that we better the lives of the people of Kutsong.
And with that, Chair, any words of assurance for communities such as Kuchong, such as Katlehong, that are grappling with such issues and these challenges?
I want to say that Parliament is alive. Parliament is an active body. These committees are there. I don't want to go into what happened in the past, but there's new energy. There's a new sheriff in town with the committee. And for us, we must be responsive. We must be responsive. It's a pity that at most of as you look at the nature of the committee, we will come after the effect. Once the damage has already been done. I don't know specific what are some of the challenges that we are grappling, besides now the broader problems that are affecting our country. But Parliament, people should know that Parliament is alive. You've got a recourse. There is a board that can come to your party and come and assist you. There is a committee in Parliament that can, and there's a number of committees that are also there. I also have learned that the NA, they're looking at establishing a similar committee, to make sure that we don't have, because most of the time, as I said, committees have this backlog of items. So as a two houses of Parliament, using our structure and our powers, let us go and resolve the problems of South Africa. It's unfortunate that as a committee now, we don't have that scope where we can say, let's close the gap. We will receive problems, and then we are after the effect. My wish, and I think maybe is what I want to communicate to South Africans. I mean to government that let us, when we work, let us try to prevent problems from happening already. And how do you do that? I was a councillor in Kimberley, a Soplite municipality. And when we came there in 2016, we were told that, there was no a 30-year plan or a 10-year plan for the city, in terms of where do you take the city forward, So I think long-term planning, it will assist in making sure we close the gaps before they even start, And for example, when you say you want to build a school, you must make sure that the school there's going to be enough people to come and attend school in that area. It must serve something,
of course,
you know, and make sure that there is, you know, your maintenance for the school to make sure that it progresses. Because we had somewhere in you know, in the country where some of the schools had to be closed because the number was dwindling. You know, are we able to plan to say, look, the population is growing, but in what areas and in which? So that when you build something, it doesn't become tomorrow and is useless to the community that is there, does not serve the purpose. So long-term plan is very important. We have as a country the NDP, which is the overarching plan of government. But every organ and every sphere of government must have the long-term plan and make sure that it's a funded plan, you know, so that it's alive from provinces, but most importantly at local government. Because actually that's where the problems are lying, at the local government. Because local government is actually directly where the communities are, and that is why we have now the situation of Kutsong, you know, because the municipality failed to live up to their responsibility, and they could not address the problems of people of Kutsong. Now they have to bring these items now even to national at parliament. So there must be long-term planning and making sure those plans speak, you know, to the needs of South Africans.
And then lastly, how do South Africans get access to you as the chairperson of the Petitions Committee?
Thank you very much. Notwithstanding the items that I've addressed about the petitions office that will assist us greatly, there is on the officer of the website. Now, this is now how this petitions work. That they actually write to the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. And then obviously through the email at chairperson, I think, but the email address is on the website, and obviously on our communication platforms. And then the chairperson will then table the report, refer the petition to us as a committee to deal with it. But obviously when you go on the website, you search my name and my surname, my details are there. We are public reps who must be available to our residents.
Of course.
That's the nature of our job. And then if somebody is not following the right procedure, I can advise and I can assure South Africans that every day I make sure that I go through those emails. But the committee has got a secretariat where these items are referred to them, and then the team of them, they prepare for us for the committee to go deal with this one. But as I said to you, for me, the petitions office will address a lot of these challenges. You know, when people can say, but at Parliament there's this petitions office where we can refer our petition to. But most important, even to have e-petitions, most of us, we are moving now within this fourth industrial revolution where the digital technology and the digital side where people can do things online. But importantly, and I think there's also one item that I didn't highlight, we as a committee must go to communities as well. You know, not every community and not every people are techno savvy, you know. We must be there, you know, and to tell them, you know, there's a recourse that you can utilize. There is a unit in Parliament called the Public Education Unit. We have resolved as a committee we're going to be partnering with that unit, and we're going to go to communities for all the far-flung areas, you know, where people are far, the rural areas, the small towns. And as a committee, we must go out, we must reach out to them. And I think that's for us to assist that we are not just reactive, but we are also proactive to the citizens of South Africa.
Thank you so much for making the time, Chair.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
And that was Mr. Ofentse Mokae, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Public Petitions and Executive Undertakings, unpacking the work of the committee, the importance thereof, and the recent oversight trip to Kuchong after the community of Kuchong submitted a petition requesting the National Council of Provinces to facilitate the declaration of Kuchong in Gauteng a national disaster area due to the escalating large sinkholes affecting the area and its residents. Of course, Parliament bears the responsibility of lawmaking, oversight, and holding the executive to account, and the improvement of public participation and involvement by remaining aware of social ills, being transparent and accessible to the public. It strives to stay abreast of long-standing socio-economic issues and challenges that communities face and provide tangible solutions to eradicate these challenges and facilitate the implementation of solutions. For more information on the work of Parliament and the Select Committee on Public Petitions and Executive Undertakings and how you and your community can petition Parliament, visit our website at www.parliament.gov.za. To stay informed about Parliament's engagements, follow, like and subscribe on all social media platforms at Parliament of RSA, and have your say by joining the conversation and sharing your views on the issue of sinkholes affecting various areas in Gauteng. After all, it is your Parliament, your voice, your future. Thank you for watching Parliament TV. I am Tepa Mori. Take care.